Hello vinyl community, Paul here again, and for this week's Tale of the Deadwax I had a very specific source of inspiration, but I'll go into that in a second. The pressing plant that I wanted to talk about today is GZ Media, or its subsidiary GZ Vinyl. So GZ Vinyl is the largest pressing plant in the world, period. They have more capacity than any other plants, and I'm going to go into a little bit of their background, not so much their history. They've been around for a long time, since 1951, but I do not have so many records because a lot of the records that they were producing was in the Eastern Bloc. But today, if you have any, say, alt-rock or punk or compilation stuff that was produced in the past 15 years, there's a good chance that you have a GZ vinyl record in your collection. But let's talk about the Deadwax part first. So this is Beck's Odelay. This is a wonderful 4-disc set that came out about 5 or 6 years ago. This was produced by ORG, and ORG typically does not use GZ vinyl. They typically use Pallas in Germany, which I intend to cover in a future video. But for this one, they did go with GZ. So let's take a look at the Deadwax, and I'll give you a breakdown. So this is what a GZ number looks like, and it's very distinctive. It is a machine-etched number. Now, if you look at the first 5 to 6 digits, this is a plating code that I'm assuming they assigned to the mother. So if they ever needed to make more stampers, then they can find it in the library, and they just reference this number and they can track down the original metalwork. Now, the digit that I'm referencing here is the format number, and you can see that they have several different types of letters for different formats. For 33 1/3 or 45, you have 12-inch, 10-inch, and 7-inch. So just to highlight an example from my collection, this is the Brian Jonestown Massacre Illuminomi. This is a 10-inch 45 RPM record, and just to show you the Deadwax really quickly, you can see that this is represented by an N for the format. Another one to show you here is this one by the Voodoo Donut label. This is a 7-inch 45 RPM record it's basically a punk label, more or less. And you can see from the Deadwax here, this is represented by the letter H. So, moving on within the actual numbering coding system, the next letter or number that you see is the actual side. So the last letter that you're going to see in their matrix number, and this is a theory by me, represents a part of the plating process. Now, some folks think it represents the stamper, but I'm a little bit doubtful of that because most of the records that I have do have an A, and most stampers are only good for about 1,000 records. Now, that's not to say you can't exceed that. The quality just degrades with the more records that you produce from the stamper over time. I do think that this represents an actual step in the process. So for DMM, when you cut into the copper, you can actually use that mother as your actual stamper. And I think to save on cost, if you're just doing a limited run, you can skip on the process. Sort of like with RTI, you do not have to produce a bunch of stampers. You could use that mother if you wanted to. So I will show you the example here in a moment. So let's talk about GZ Vinyl's quality. So, of course, being the largest pressing plant in the world, you would expect some problems, and I have had some problems with surface noise with GZ vinyl, and if you look on the internet, a lot of people have. I think it's a common problem. I've had some good stuff pressed there, but I've had some bad stuff pressed there as well. I have not had a problem with non-fill like I have with United, but for the most part, GZ does an okay job. I do not consider them to be the best, but I don't consider them to be the worst. Now to go into the inspiration for this video, this is the Vinyl Me Please issue for this month, and it does happen to be pressed at GZ. And this is Wells Fargo, watch out. This is an issue by Now Again Records. And if you don't know this label, it's just fantastic. It's run by Egon. And if you don't know who Egon is, there is a wonderful Crate Diggers episode put out by Fuse TV. And if you haven't checked this guy out, you have to see it, because Egon is just a fascinating individual. He's on the search from records from all over the place. Many different countries, and the outcome of it is we benefit because he produces compilations like this. And I gotta praise Now and Again for putting this out. It comes on this wonderful yellow-green splatter vinyl, and here is the GZ Deadwax. Now, the lacquers were not cut at GZ, thankfully. Now and Again has a very specific group of individuals that they go to for cutting their lacquers, and how can I tell? Well, again, you look at the Deadwax. From the Deadwax you can see this hand etching, and this record I featured last week, which is also done by Now Again, and this was done by Quality Record Press. And when we look at the etching again, you can see that it was done by the same group. So another distinct thing from GZ, which Vinyl Rewind covered in his great review of this album this week, is the jacket. So this jacket is, you know, it's polyline inner, which is nice, but as Vinyl Rewind commented, it's loose. There's like a centimeter gap here. And when you put it in the sleeve, it buckles and folds, and it doesn't go in so smoothly. And this is very common. So if you see a jacket that's very loose like this, yeah, it's a good chance that it came from GZ vinyl. So I talked about GZ not doing the lacquers all the time. So here's another example which I want to show you, which is Metallica's Master of Puppets. This is the 45 RPM edition, and when you look at the Deadwax for this one, you can see that the metal work was done at RTI. But once the lacquer or the metal work was done to RTI, it was shipped off to GZ, and then GZ put their own stamp onto it. So GZ has the ability to cut their own lacquers, and so normally when you make vinyl, it's a 5-step process of just going from cutting the lacquer all the way to pressing the record, as you can see here. Now, personally, I prefer this process. I think cutting a lacquer has a lot is so much better sonically than this other process which they use, which is called DMM, which I mentioned at the beginning of the video. DMM, you can actually cut down on the number of steps it takes to make a stamper, and so you're bypassing quite a bit. You're getting rid of the lacquer process, and with DMM you are actually cutting into metal, so you're essentially making your mother right there. Now the problem with the DMM process is that a lot of the records lack dynamics just by the way the metal is cut. You cannot, at least in terms of processing today, they cannot cut the grooves the same as they do with lacquer. Now, the benefit of DMM is that you have better treble response and high frequency response, but it sacrifices on the lower end, and just the entire dynamic range gets cut a little bit. So that is why I'm not a big fan of DMM. DMM was really being hyped in the 80s, but you know, in terms of manufacturing, you're cutting down on some of the steps. You're saving yourself a little bit of cost by going directly to DMM. Now, as you can see from the video here where they're cutting DMM, they have 3 different DMM cutting lathes, and a lot of people will just submit digital files to them which they will cut directly to record. Now, how are they at actually mastering? I don't know. I mean, again, I've had some stuff that sounds good, and then I've had some stuff that doesn't sound so good. So that's just my thoughts on the overall quality for GZ vinyl. Now, here's something very interesting. I wanted to talk about a front company based in the United States, and that front company is Pirates Press. So Forbes magazine, business magazine, just recently did a video article on vinyl pressing, and they just happened to interview a few folks, and they interviewed the owner of Pirates Press, and either the guy was caught in a lie, or they just edited this video so well that, you know, it just kind of misrepresented their company.
I started Pirates Press in 2004, and we make vinyl records and CDs. We make every component of it, from the cutting of the record down to the marketing sticker that gets put on the shrink wrap. As I left college, I got a job for a manufacturing company and learned how fun it was to make records for people, and that when they came out great, the gratification and the appreciation that you got was amazing.
But to be clear, Pirates Press, they do not press records. What they do is they act as a middleman for GZ vinyl. So all their records that they get, they probably get the digital files, and then they ship them over to GZ for pressing. It then gets delivered to the Bay Area in California and then delivered. But I do have a couple of records that have been done at Pirates Press that I've confirmed. The first one I want to show you is Dereck 3. So I guess you can consider this export-import. So I remember when I picked this up, or maybe it was a couple months afterwards, Dereck was talking about it in a video, and he commented that he used Pirates Press. But just to show you the Deadwax really quickly here. So from the Deadwax, you can see that the last digit here is a B. So either, you know, they upped the stamper, or Dereck just opted to use the mother for pressing, which, you know, I can't, if he did that. And Dereck, if you're watching, please tell me what was going on. But he only did 135 of these, and probably had a few more. He had a test press, I'm sure, but I'm really curious to know why the letter B, because this is one of the few examples where I did not see an A there. So Dereck, if you just happen to catch this video and you can enlighten me, I'd appreciate it. So the more I watch this video from Forbes and I see the owner of Pirates Press, he talks about acquiring new presses. Really, if I go to his website and I look at, you know, his website here, I can see all records pressed in the Czech Republic. And there's some other odd signs in this video. So you look at the video of him in this jacket, and here's the Czech Republic here on his jacket. And then you look at another shot within the video, and here is a lady, and in the background you see a sign, and the sign is written in Czech, and it talks about dye defects. So really, either Forbes really screwed up on the editing, or this guy was just repping GZ. So really strange. And then just to conclude this video here, this is the chromatics. I just love her. Anyway, you can see in the Deadwax here it says Pirates Press, and also if you look at the sticker here, made in the Czech Republic. So Pirates Press, they're just a front company for GZ, so bear that in mind. And GZ is looking to expand, so in the news they just acquired a Canadian pressing plant, don't know which one, And in May, they said that they are working to acquire a U.S. plant. So very interesting. And, you know, I think they are looking for market dominance. So who knows where that's going to go. I'm really curious to see what U.S. plant they're acquiring and if they're going to keep to the same matrix number. So if you guys know anything, if I got anything wrong in the video today, please shoot me a comment down below, and thank you for watching. So if you made it this far and you weren't completely bored to death, I do have some other Tales of the Deadwax videos here. Feel free to watch them and maybe make your mind in butter. I hope you enjoy these. Thank you for watching me this far, and subscribe if you enjoy. Thank you.